into circulation as new debt above any former sum of debt, therefore perpetually increases the sum of debt by so much as periodic interest on an ever greater sum of debt, until we suffer the present failure because of what I have called maldisposition. Ever more of every unit of the circulation is dedicated to servicing the escalating sum of debt, as opposed even to being available to sustain the industry and commerce, which remain nonetheless obligated to continue servicing this escalating sum of debt. So this is what's destroyed our jobs, as industry becomes incapable of sustaining itself, maintaining any margin of solubility whatsoever above its costs, which involve these escalating costs of servicing debt. Industry fails. It's destroyed. It's expatriated. It's sent off to other countries and who might provide effectively slave markets of labor for that industry, which couldn't survive in its parent country or its country of origin only because of the obfuscation of the currency. So, of course, what happens to labor? It's dispossessed of its job. We have unemployment. And what is all this the consequence of then? It's a consequence of an obfuscation of the currency which has been imposed upon us. Now, unless this is an entirely invalid question, how is it it's not the central topic of a GOP debate? How is it it's not the central topic of an authentic, veritable, verifiable proposition to Congress of how to purportedly create jobs? Now, government doesn't even create jobs when it employs us at maintaining our infrastructures or in expanding our infrastructures. What is happening when government spends money which it doesn't have? It has to take from us what it's going to give from us, but it's not only going to take from us what it gives to us, what we're hoping for if we're hoping to be sustained by the state. It isn't just taking from us what it's purportedly giving to us. It's allowing this obfuscation of the currency through the central banking system to increase the costs of what it purportedly gives to us, or provides to us, or purportedly finances to us. It's increasing those perpetually by interest itself. So in fact, the obfuscation of the currency only lends to further impetus for failure, because when X is spent into circulation to sustain maintenance of infrastructures or to expand infrastructures, X times something else, interest, perpetually, is the actual cost of it. So the cost doesn't even end in what we've gotten, which we have to pay out of circulation to the purported banking system. So when you give the nod to government to pretend to act as your benefactor, purportedly spending money into circulation, what you're really giving the nod to is to whatever we get, to multiply that into a cost far above whatever we get. And there is no way in the world for us to come out to the better for it. Everything that's spent into circulation is spent out of circulation in multiple. So all this hollow oratory that you hear in the GOP debate about creating jobs, and all that you're hearing in the president's, you know, applauded speech to Congress is all about, in fact, sealing your fate. It's all about increasing costliness above the benefit. Now, during the congressional address that Obama gave, he constantly stressed that everything is going to be paid for. He even used my words. The math is simple. Over and over again. He said, you must do this now. He did not say how or why. He did not demonstrate conclusively how or why. You have to understand the differences. We can't just say that something works and have it work unless we can demonstrate conclusively, that is, without possible exception, that it will work. So the presentation of veritable propositions is entirely different than to merely claim that you're going to accomplish some object by inconclusive means. Now, I'm not just saying this, of course. I meant today to prove that none of the GOP candidates are going to accomplish their merely stated objects which have been failed to be achieved by term after term after term after term after term after term of president after president after president after president. But I'm not saying this just to report the state of affairs in the United States to people across the world. What we're discussing are a model. They are a set of facts in which mere pretenders cannot overcome what they're really shielding. And they're shielding this because it's what they're really standing for. How is it in all these members of Congress and in the executive branch and the judicial branch, how is it that term after term after term after term, the question of the rectitude of the obfuscation of the currency never, 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 never is raised? And why aren't we raising it? What other valid complaint do we have? What other arguments can we raise which will prevail in our object of merely prospering, a thing that is our right? We have a right to prosper in a world where we are not obstructed artificially from prosperity, and particularly by the present obfuscation of the currency. Well, as I heard all this week, I frankly I can hardly stand to watch our political pretenders. The hypocrisy, their hypocrisy knows no bounds. They gave themselves standing ovation after standing ovation after standing ovation as if suddenly because the president speaks in an enthusiastic voice, that the things they've never accomplished are going to be accomplished by mere rhetoric, which doesn't even address the very thing which has purposely destroyed our jobs. We should all be floored by this. You know, there's absolutely no credibility whatsoever in failing forever to question the rectitude of the currency. You know, for many years I would have been alone in raising the improprieties of this obfuscation of the currency. You know, my plagiarists have denied interest was the problem. They propose we should compromise with the banks to make the banks happy, settle for some reduced rates of interest, you know. I mean, the latter proposition, for instance, was raised in a purported resurrection of a lost science, a science which never existed before. And I watched Dennis Kucinich, who's who was an advocate of this reduction of interest rates, and who's, refused to respond to me. Received the president warmly in this congressional address Thursday, and I can't believe what I continue to see. These people couldn't find enough rocks to hide under if we, the people, woke to simple facts. We tend to think we're looking for solution when we evaluate all these things which are our wrong and which in fact cannot serve us. If you remember, earlier in the year we dissected Ben Bernanke's claims of expected recovery. That is, first of the year he was claiming that a reduction in unemployment claims projected that the recovery was gaining strength. And we explained at the time that there was no recovery, that this obfuscation perpetually multiplies indebtedness, and in fact all of the things that were being done by the federal government and all of the further falsification of debt by the Federal Reserve, which funded the things that were done by the federal government, were only multiplying debt all the further, increasing an already terminal sum of falsified debt beyond what would engender terminal failure. And of course, we pointed out that Bernanke's claims were based on a fact that they didn't even recognize unemployed people. In other words, it's a falsified reduction in purported unemployment, resulting from the fact that when people are unemployed for so long, they fall off the unemployment benefits rolls because they've exceeded the maximum time span that the government will allow us to be insured against unemployment. And so when we do, although we are still unemployed, we're no longer considered unemployed. So this 9 point some odd % unemployment is in fact terribly, terribly, terribly understated and purposely falsified, as we've pointed out for many years.